Hello everybody, this is Troy and we are back, and this time we are going to actually start modeling our puzzle. I've got this one up on screen right now just to show uh, that we will not need to model every piece. We're only going to need to model actually 3 pieces to complete a 3x3 puzzle, and those pieces are going to be our center piece, an edge piece, and a corner piece. And then once we've developed that, we can actually move all the edges to, all the green ones here would be the same, and all the blue ones would be the same, all the yellow ones would be the same. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be modeling one of each of these, and oops, I got 2 edges there, one of each of these, and let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to start a new scene, and I'm just going to go to my tutorial start here. So I've got my script running here for what I'm doing in the lower corner, and we are going to start with a Guanlong core. The core is something that could be 3D printed, but because I'm going to be using the screws and springs from a Guanlong, we're just going to start with that. Now, I've made some measurements of the core, and we're going to use that. We're going to construct this core in here. So we could 3D print it, but we won't necessarily need to for this one. So I've gone to the Add menu, which is Shift A, and I've inserted a cylinder here. You can also do it down here. There's an Add menu, and you could find Mesh Cylinder. And there's also here in the Create menu. All 3 of those do the exact same thing. I prefer the Shift A, it just sits right there. Once you create an object, and as long as you only move the camera, these settings will be available to you. Once I move the object, these will disappear. But as soon as I've created it, if I do nothing else, right here underneath there will be some settings I can change. And these are actually the settings that I'm going to leave it at. But if I wanted to put more steps in the cylinder, see how this is, see the lines here? If I change this to say 8, you would have an octagon shape. And if I change this to say 128, it would be very smooth. But we're also dealing with a lot of lines here that will make the mesh very heavy and really more than we really need. With the faceting that we get here, the details that we're going to be printing are small enough that these facets will not show up. If you're doing this for animation, you would actually go ahead and you would put a smoothing on here, and it's still the same amount of detail, but it shows up like this. But for 3D printing, it's actually easier and better to just leave everything flat, because the printer will print exactly how the flat is, even if it looks smooth here. So once I've now moved some things over here, so now those settings are no longer available to me. But as I said, those were the settings that I wanted to use. So I've done some measurements on the core, the plus for the Guanlong, which is going to be the main core shape that we're going to be building here. And I know that the core is 19.5 millimeters high. So that's in the blue here, which is Z. And so I can change my dimension here, and I can just say 19.5. We're working in millimeter scale, which is going to be very large in your viewport at first, because the default cube is only a 2 millimeter cube. And I also know that these, from my measurements, are 7.5 millimeters in diameter. So I'm going to type in those 2 values, and we are going to get one axis there. Now, I also know that I'm going to need a hole in here. Since I'm not printing this, I really don't need to know that size very much, but I just hit Shift D to duplicate this, and I'm going to right click. It is duplicated there, it's just on position. I'm just going to hit Scale Z and then Scale Shift Z to scale this down. This is going to be what we're going to make our hole with. And I'm just going to type in some values here. Let's make it 2.5, 2.5, and 30 is fine. So if you were actually building this to use, you would need to find the size of your screw to make an appropriate size hole. But for this is all we really need to do. Now, just for a little bit of nice touch, I'm going to go ahead and put a bevel on here. I'm going to do that by entering edit mode. And to enter edit mode, I'm going to hold hit the tab key, and that will do this. Once you're in edit mode, you can choose to edit different parts of your mesh from vertices, edges, or faces. Now the shortcut for that is Control Tab to get that to come up, or if you go down here at the very bottom of your screen, there's vertex, edge, and face mode. You can just simply select here which one you want. I tend to use the shortcut. I can just go into whatever I want. So I'm going to go to face mode, and I'm going to click on this face, and then I'm going to orbit my view, and I'm going to shift click on this face, so I have both of those selected. And I'm going to hit bevel, and I realize I have a problem right here, and this is because my scale is not applied. So I'm going to tab to get out of edit mode, and I'm going to hit apply scale. Now I'm going to go back into edit mode with tab again, and this time when I hit bevel, it's much more controlled, and I see it's not elongated because the scale is correct. On the very bottom of my screen here, down here where the cursor is, there's some numbers, and I'm watching those numbers. And I can see my bevel is about 0.5. So I'm going to hit 0.5. I'm not going to hit enter yet. I'm going to scroll with my mouse wheel just a couple times here, and that's going to give me some segments. And so what that is right now is that's a bevel of 0.5 millimeters, and I've got 3 segments in there, 1, 2, 3, and that's sufficient for this. Just like with when we made the cylinder and we were able to enter those values, until you do another thing, you can actually manipulate that value right here. So I could change that if I wanted here, but I just hit undo. So we will do that again. There we go. So once I go out of edit mode, that's no longer available to me. That bevel is now fixed. So to make our core, what I'm going to do now is select both of these. I'm going to shift duplicate, and then I'm going to rotate in the y-axis and just hit 90. I'm going to type in 90, and then I'm going to do that again. Shift D, right click, rotate Z, and we're going to go 90. So I've now created my main core, and then I'm going to go to my bool tool, which if you followed the earlier videos, I showed how to install that and where it is. And all I need to do at this point is combine these in the proper way. So what I want to do is take these 2 pieces, and I'm going to make a union of those, and then I'm going to select this is my new piece from that. I'm going to select that. I'm going to select the 3rd piece here, and again say union. And now I have my core. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing on these 2, union, and then these 2, union. So I have now 2 pieces in my scene. I've got that and that. Now I'm going to select my whole object, and then the object that I want the hole cut out of, and I'm going to hit difference. And this is our core object. And because I'm using just the auto one, the bool tool does the operation and removes the original object. In this case, I knew what I was doing. I was fine with that. If you use the brush Boolean one, I would still have all the original objects. I could move and resize things. But this is our core. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to name this one core. And I'm going to end this video right now, and we're going to start the next video right away on our cube pieces.